Okay, I believe we are almost there. We are going live on Facebook right now. And I believe we are almost live. All right. Hey guys, it's Nicole, and this is conversation number 27 with Stay Wild Child. And I love these conversations. I feel like it's an hour a week where I learn something new. So it's almost like, I don't know, it's like this education, like this awakening, like this awareness that these conversations bring about. And I just feel so gifted that somebody whispered in my ear last October and said, "Hey, you would be really good at interviewing people." I'm like, well, no shit, that's a great idea. So I started these conversations, and man, they have really filled my life, and I sure hope they have yours also. So this is my friend Lynley, who you get to meet today, and she is, man, she's just such a delight to be around. She has this energy that you can really feel when you're around her. She's a joyful person, and you feel that joy like just radiating out of her soul. And I've been blessed to do many meditations with this girl, and so it's just always cool to be able to get around her and hang around her. And so thank you, Lynley, for being on the show today.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here. And what a great intro.
Oh, good. So, Lynley, we always kind of start the show. I like to kind of bring us back to where we were really before we started stepping into our power. I think that's the best way to say it, right? Like you're like finally like you're kind of done with all the BS, and you're like, okay, I'm just going to own this shit, and I'm just going to keep stepping forward and keep owning it. And, it's not like it's easy, but we just kind of keep doing it, right? And so I like to take people back, because the group is helping women remember who they are before the world told them who they were supposed to be. And we can I know you're a mom, you can get caught in the, what is a good mom, right? What is a good wife? What is a good employee, right? And we have all these belief systems and programs, right? And we start kind of breaking up with those things. But where were you before, and that brought you kind of like to why I'm talking to you now, because you're a badass woman. So tell us now, just share with us a little bit about your background.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I was in a spot that most ladies come to. You are building a life, and you're trying to come up with and build and attain everything that everyone's told you you should be, do, right? And so in my mid 30s, I think on the outside, it looked pretty good. I was married, I had a kid, volunteer extraordinaire. I'd met all of my career goals and then some. And I definitely projected joy and happiness, but I didn't really feel it. And so one day I woke up and I was just deeply, deeply saddened, I think, with where I had ended up. And just like all of your friends and those out in the Facebook Live world, I think I had to really come to, what is it that I want, and how do I want to feel? Because whatever the external was saying I had done well didn't leave me feeling well. And so I had multiple things happen that many of us do, right? Bosses leaving jobs, husbands going through crises, aging parents who are sick. I mean, very basic stuff that really woke me up and said, I can't continue down doing all that I'm doing, because I just don't feel full on the inside. I felt really empty, really sad. And so our friend Rosemary, actually, who I worked with at the time, she said, you need to go have Reiki done. And I said, I have no idea what this is. I would do just about anything at that moment that was legal. So I actually had my first Reiki session, and that was really a turning point for me as far as just my war chest of tools and resources on how I could find myself, fill myself up, and find joy, not just present joy externally, but find it. And so it's been a wild ride since then, but such a good one.
So how many years ago do you think that was, Lynley?
It's about, I think, 2 to 2.5 years ago.
Oh, so
Yeah.
that's not real. You've gone like fast.
Yes, this has
Because,
been,
yeah, I mean, I want to say mine was more like a 7-year process. And
uh,
so you just kind of dove off the deep end. All right.
I did.
Yeah.
So if you've ever heard the term fast track, I don't really
Uh-huh.
do anything half-ass in my life, right? So when I found something that worked for me, and I had, to be fair, I had been in talk therapy for a long time, and I think that that is really what helped get me to the point where I had an awareness that I
Sure.
wasn't as fulfilled. And that, of course, started about 5 or 6 years ago. But it was really Reiki that was the turning point. And when I could feel the click or the shift in me, that I was kind of turning where I wanted to be, or what felt like me, that's when I jumped off that cliff, immersed myself in all things energy, meditation, and really have gone down a learning and an unlearning that has been extremely impactful for me.
That's cool. Okay, so I think that was like just such a strong message that you truly can do it faster, right? Because I kind of thought, I thought mine was kind of a pretty normal, time frame awakening, but shoot, girl, 2 years, rock on,
Yeah.
sister. That's fast. I like the fast track. I mean, I feel like some of mine probably, I had a lot of deep, deep belief systems. And
Mhm.
so it was really a lot of unlearning for me
Mhm.
and allowing, giving myself grace in that journey as well. So, and it's interesting that you talked about Reiki, opening you up, because I'd started some group meditation, and the lady who led the group meditation, she's a Reiki master. And I had just referred her a ton of people because, like, I went to the meditation. I did so well in the meditation, which I didn't think there was any way I could do the meditation. Like, I was like, all right, I'm going to show up, but there is no way I'm going to be able to do this. And then I did it. And then so I kept showing up, and I was bringing people, and she goes, look, you're bringing so many people. She's like, I'm going to give you a free Reiki session. And I'm like, sweet, what's that? and when she did, it was pretty incredible. I got chills. It was pretty incredible because I think that was probably, it had a lot to do with it. So
Mhm.
yeah, it's a really cool experience. Okay, so for those who are in Stay Wild Child or in YouTube land who are not familiar with Reiki, do you mind kind of going over? And are you a Reiki master? You Reiki? Yeah. Okay. All right.
So I am now a Reiki master and Reiki teacher, but just at the highest level, Reiki is just energy healing. And that's
Yes.
just moving your energy around so that you can become more aligned to who you are. And at the highest level, for me, Reiki is just one form of energy healing, right? So
Right.
just like when you're looking at different faiths, there's all different types of faiths that worship God. And so for me, I think that theta healing, I've seen and worked with energy healers that use energies outside of Reiki. All of those, I think, do the same thing, which it's really just focusing on where is my center? How do I balance? And then learning that you're in control of it, right? And so you talk about women stepping into their power. The actual energy shift, and I always call it a click, right? I say, did you feel the click? Can you feel that dial move just a bit? I think the biggest thing about energy is when you start to take that chaos and you start moving it in a way that works for you, that's where you get your power. And then you get to share it with others. So it's kind of like a lot of my teachers, you know, different people have different beliefs. I just believe that when you're focusing on your energy, no matter who you are, whatever certifications you have, I think that we all have the power to center ourselves, cleanse ourselves, and step into that power through taking that energy back. Whereas right now, a lot of us kind of are frantic, and you see, we see it everywhere. We see hazy energy. You don't have to have Reiki. It certainly helped me. You don't have to have theta healing, but you can start finding an awareness within yourself of your energy and use that awareness so that you can pull yourself together and find your center. And to me, that's what it's all about. Of course, Reiki obviously can help with physical ailments as well as emotional. But I always used to tell my Reiki practitioner, going through talk therapy that did help me for a long time, she used a lot of terms, and I now use them as well, that you would hear from your therapist, like, okay, we got to get those boundaries back in place. You have no boundaries. Right?
Yes.
And you've got to find a way that you can cool or calm yourself in really unsteady places or situations. And then just learning that you obviously control your energy, but you can influence others as well. And you can actually de-escalate situations, de-escalate yourself. You know, there's just so many different ways that you can use it. But for me, that was really, Reiki itself was the one that when I was a client and I was having it done for me, it was the first thing that I could feel these shifts in me that I just
Yes.
never felt before. And then I wanted to learn, how do I keep doing that to myself so I can keep this feeling and this calm?
So you teach Reiki also.
I am a master teacher, so I don't hold classes yet, but with my friends and family, I obviously spread the word. I just think it's such a great tool. I think everyone should get to have it if they want to use it.
Yeah, yeah. So I was a massage therapist in my 20s,
Mhm.
and I've always felt I have these healing hands.
Mhm.
I've been able to really shift a lot of people's pain
Mhm.
with my hands. And, you know, of course, these people are related to me, my husband and my mom, but they're like, anytime my mom, you know, has something going on, I'll, I'll go over and work on her. And it's almost, I can kind of get rid of it for almost
Uh-huh.
instantly. And, you know, and I'm pretty sure the reason my husband married me was because of these hands. He's like, oh, I get back rubs? This is awesome. So I'm wondering, you know, I feel like I've probably, which I haven't looked into Reiki a lot. I've had a couple of Reiki sessions and that type of thing, but I've always, when I started hearing about Reiki, I thought, man, I wonder if I'm doing some kind of like healing energy transfer, because I'm going in with the intention of finding the area that needs to be worked on or worked out or whatever. And then, you know, I'm always definitely sending love and healing and that type of thing. So I don't know. I've always kind of thought that. I'm like, I wonder if I was kind of doing some Reiki stuff or something back then that
You
I was unaware
are.
of, right?
You are. I mean, you're definitely doing energy healing.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that I found is, as I started Reiki classes, I started it because I wanted to understand what had helped me so much. And then
Right.
I found, you know, different people have different gifts, and I think it came more naturally for me, and it was something that if I really look back, much like you, I've been doing for a long, long time. So I would say absolutely. You're with the massage therapy, you're doing energy healing. And when you're getting in each other's auras, you're certainly transferring that. So
Yeah.
I think you should take some Reiki classes. We should get you attuned because it would just heighten what you're already doing. But you've been doing energy healing.
Yeah, I think I have too, and I've thought about that before because I even remember, which I remember them talking about, like in massage therapy class, they would say, after you do, whatever, and then you kind of shake it off, right?
Mhm.
Like, so you're almost, pulling whatever it is out
Yes.
and shaking it off. I was like, okay, but I guess, I don't know, at that age, I didn't really know to ask more questions. I just was like, okay, let's just do it. Right. And
Yes.
it felt natural to me.
Yes.
And I could always feel someone's energy who was maybe a little bit off,
Yes.
or yeah, I knew I could always, super empathic. So I knew I could always do, feel that. And so,
Mhm.
yeah, I was just always shaking it off, hardcore during that time. But,
See, you've been doing it.
yeah, I think I probably have. Okay. So so what does a Reiki session look like? So I come to your house and what happens?
Okay, so I will say, and this is where I have to be really careful where I kind of talk about Reiki versus energy healing, right?
Mm,
But a Reiki session is very simple in that you're simply laying your hands
mm,
above the body in different positions, and
right.
you're channeling energy, not your energy, but the Reiki energy through you to your sitter or your client, right? So what you're doing is just acting like a channel. And what I love about Reiki is one of the first things it says is Reiki can do no harm. And I loved that, especially when I was a student and I was new. I didn't want to be messing with anybody's aura.
Right. Right. I can totally like,
Right.
yeah. Yeah.
So a basic Reiki session would be simply hands in different positions, hovering over the body, and it's just a transfer of energy that helps align the chakras and obviously the auras. Now, I think that I've had a lot of teachers that are certified in multiple modalities, and I call that Reiki Plus, but
Uh-huh.
it's just they have multiple things in their toolbox that they're using in a session. So I can tell you for a session of mine, and I'll talk about our friend Vivian, who
Yeah.
um,
She'll be on next week.
yes, she'll be
Yeah.
on next week. We
Yeah.
just did a session with her, and obviously I channeled and used the Reiki energy, but I also have energy of my own and things that I use as well. So I can, when I close my eyes and I plug in at the feet, when I'm simply just cradling the ankles, I can see in my head the chakras that need assistance. And so while you're getting Reiki, you're also, much like you did in your massage therapy, you're getting some of the energy that I bring that's natural to me. And so that's where I can see some of the areas that need more focus. And then it's also a way for us to talk about, well, why do you think I'm seeing an overactive throat? What's been going on? And it helps in the debrief. So for me, I definitely channel and lay my hands over, but I also am looking at the intuitive pings that I get during the session, which can include me seeing chakras, it can include sometimes me getting images, or it may just include with Vivian when she was laying right here, her aura was just so big. It was something unlike I'd ever seen before. And I said, I feel like we can't even fit in this room because her energy field had just expanded so much. So it's really cool because it's a little bit different depending on everybody. But you definitely walk away feeling relaxed. I think you feel that click of, okay, I was a little frenetic and now I'm more in control. I can feel my energy. So I think everyone has felt a little differently. Vivian, some people, their energy will spike through the roof and it's like a sugar high. Other, it subsides and they just feel so calm, like you've had a couple of drinks and you need to lay down, you know? So it's a little bit different for everyone, but I can say everyone does walk away just feeling at minimum, I'm not sure what happened, but something happened and I liked it. And that's what most people walk away with.
Right, right. That's good. Okay, so let's say, for example, so you mentioned the word see.
Mhm.
So is this like, are you seeing her chakras in all colors lining up? Like, are you seeing like a moving picture in front of your eyes, or are you just feeling it? What area? I'll let you kind of share what direction your intuitiveness goes.
Yes. So that's a good question. So I think as I started doing sessions, I see what I call a gingerbread man. And
Okay.
so if you can envision it, it's like the outline of a body almost in the shape of a gingerbread man.
Yep.
Um, it doesn't look like a man or a woman, it's just kind of an outline, right? And I started seeing that about a year ago after I had already been practicing for about 6 to 9 months. And I was like, what is going on? Because I would initially plug in at the ankle and close my eyes to send good vibes, right? To send that initial energy flow. And I just started seeing what I call the gingerbread man. And I do not see all the chakras. I see the chakras in need of attention.
Oh,
So,
okay.
yeah. So when I see the chakra, it's usually like, okay, I see the throat, which means it's either underactive or overactive. And
Right.
in the gingerbread man, I see a blue dot. I
Okay.
will say I had an awesome session with a young woman that when I plugged into her and I saw the gingerbread man, I kept seeing a heart chakra in her belly.
Oh.
And I was like, this
Oh.
isn't making sense because the heart chakra is supposed to be in your mid chest. And I kept plugging in and closing my eyes and plugging in and closing my eyes. And at the end of the session, when we were debriefing, I said, you know, I definitely saw a heart chakra in your belly. Do you know what that might mean? Well, it turns out she was pregnant. So very, very interesting. But yeah,
Ooh.
yeah. So that was really cool. But for me, it's really just kind of telling me what's going on and what chakras need the most attention at that time.
Right. Yes, yes, yes. Oh, I bet that was incredible.
It was so
Did she
cool.
did she know?
So she did know, but her mom was here at the time.
Oh,
So we actually didn't find out for a month later. So I think some things had to be discussed.
yeah.
But yes, she's had a healthy baby girl and all is well now. So.
That's lovely. So I had during my Reiki session, I had someone who visited during my
Mm,
Reiki session, which was at that time for me, it was quite, I'd never been around or witnessed anything like
mm,
that before. And it was interesting. And I'll share her name because we haven't seen each other in years, but her name was Mary. And she said, so there's a childlike adult who is here, who is sharing her name is Mary, and she wanted you to know that she was thinking about you.
mm,
And I thought, wow, okay, so like I know two Marys, and I mean, I think I know which one it is because Mary has some learning disabilities, and I had worked with her a couple of years before that, and she lives out of the area, and I'd helped her get a job because she had learning disabilities, and I was at that time working with people with disabilities, helping them acquire employment. And it was interesting. Went home and I was like, wow, what was that about? You know? And the next day, Mary calls me and says, hey, Nicole, I was thinking about you yesterday. And I wanted you to know that it was her son's birthday who had passed away. And she said she just wanted to let me know that she was thinking about me and wanted to tell me about that it had been her son's birthday. And I thought, oh my goodness, wow. So I called our Sherry Bangs is the one who did the Reiki with me. And I called her immediately and I shared with her. She's like, thank you for the validation, thank you, because that just helps when you get that kind of validation. I know for me and her as well, and I'm sure you, when you get that kind of validation, it just starts helping, right? Just kind of open things up more and more. And my thoughts are, I've thought about this quite a bit, but my thoughts are is like Mary was just, she wasn't holding anything back, right? Because she didn't know to hold anything back. She was more open than, me and my judgmental, what the hell was that?
Yeah.
Yeah. It was pretty incredible. Have you ever had anyone join you in sessions?
So I will say that I think practitioners, depending on some of the gifts and the things that come to them,
Yeah.
it depends, right? And I call it Reiki Plus. That's not an official term, but there's so many people that are energy healers, but also have other gifts and other things. So I can tell you, I have had a lot of Reiki sessions from a lot of different practitioners because I wanted to have the different experiences that my sitters might, right? And I've had them bring in people who just wanted to say, hey, we love you. I've also had them have images come to them that connected with my life and what was going on. I actually had one Reiki practitioner who is a great friend, and she is a seer. And so it was funny because we were working at the same company at that time, and I'd actually brought her in to just do a session on my daughter. I thought she was really gifted with children, and I thought it would be really helpful. And of course, I had a session too because she was here.
Yeah.
And it was hilarious because I'm getting Reiki and she's moving her hands in the different positions, and she backed up 3 feet and she goes, oh my gosh, you're about to leave the company. And I was about to leave the company. I had gotten a new job and no one was supposed to know. And so she's like, oh, and so it was really interesting, just like the intuitive hits that she was getting, even though the purpose of the session was an energy balance healing. So I think anything can happen in a Reiki session. So it's very interesting.
Yeah, especially if you're, totally open to the experience as well. I think probably the more open you go into it. And I remember when I laid down on that Reiki table, she said, so what do you know about Reiki? And I said, nothing. She goes, oh, good. Right? Because I didn't come in with a judgment about it. So she's like, oh, good.
I think that's the best. And just so you know, I was the same way. I had driven an hour out of the way to go to North Richland Hills. I didn't Google Reiki. I didn't do any sort of prep. I just drove my car there, hopped out, and was like, whatever needs to happen will happen. And it was just, it was amazing. I feel like the less informed, or the less, like you said, judgment that you can bring, the more possibilities come, right? But a lot of those hits that people are getting is so that people, the sitter, the client, so that you can understand that this is real, it is happening. And so it's just different affirmations and validations so that you can accept that energy. That's what I think, how it serves a purpose.
Oh, totally. It's like the intuitive classes that we take together. So we do this group with Andrea, and we do this intuitive happy hour every other week. And it's just really morphed into such an incredible group. I really just really enjoy it. but she, Andrea always says at the beginning of her sessions is the reason she does this is basically just for validation, right? We all have
Mhm.
these gifts that we have, and this is just reminding us how powerful we are. And there's so much validation in it when we all sit around and like read and talk for each other. And that validation may not show up for a couple weeks, out or, month out, but you're like, oh, wait, Lynley said something about this,
I know.
or whoever, right? Lauren or Vivian, right? Whoever. Um, I think that that's been so good for me. I love, don't have to have evidence because I can really kind of hold that. I have a bit of a childlike,
Yes.
acceptance, right? Which I love, and I don't ever want to get rid of that. But sometimes when you do get the evidence of the thing, it's like, well, kick ass.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. I mean, for women to stand in their power, they have to learn trust and vulnerability. And so many of us are hardened over the years because of different heartbreaks, different things that have happened to us. And so I feel like, especially for Andrea's circle, we've built a trust and a vulnerability that we're just trying things out because some of this stuff feels crazy. And so it starts that unlearning because as we get these intuitive hits that don't mean anything, and we start trusting them and we allow ourselves to be vulnerable, I feel like that's where we're finding our power, or that's where I found my power. But the hardest part was just allowing myself to be vulnerable and not worry about who was going to think I was nuts or who was going to judge me because when I closed my eyes, I saw an emu. I see crazy things in those
Yeah,
circles.
yeah, I do. Yeah. Yeah,
So
you've said some good stuff to me. I'm like, okay.
I mean, it's just for women, it's so hard to be vulnerable. And once we allow ourselves to do that, I've been more empowered than I ever was before when I had my guard up and I was trying to be so strong all the time.
So I'm just curious. Do you have like an achiever type personality?
Oh, hell yeah.
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 Okay. So did you fall into some of the perfectionism type things?
Oh my gosh. Yes. I mean, and so many of us are this way, but I felt like I had to be number one at work, and I
Right.
have a successful career, and I've always had a successful career, but I was a workaholic. Um, I felt like I needed to be the homeroom mom and on all of the boards, and not just, volunteering, but being the head of everything. And then
Yes.
I felt like in my family, the house needed to be perfect all the time. The family needed to look perfect all the time. It was just, it was death by overachievement is what I was suffering from. And now I feel like I have some warning flags in place. It's like now I ask myself, is this bringing me joy?
Yeah.
You know, am I doing this for me or for someone else? Is
Mm-hmm.
this really a responsibility, or is this something that someone told me at some point in my life I should do, right? And
Should.
so, right, the shoulds. So I definitely, I still want to achieve, but now I temper it. Is it for me, or is it for some other group of people that I don't even know? So
How powerful that you are asking yourself those questions. I think that we can forget, right, to
mhm.
ask ourselves those questions. And I remember last year, my word was intention, something that I've known for a very long time. But I'm so glad that I made it my word for the year because
Mhm.
it constantly reminded me to be intention before I started really anything. Not
Yeah.
always, I'd forget. I guess that resistance comes in. It's like, oh shit, I haven't been in intention for a week. but I just made it my word so that it would come around all the time. But it's so powerful to stop and ask yourself those questions. You still with me, Lynley? Oh yeah.
Okay, I'm
Okay. I
back.
see you. Okay.
Technical difficulties. I apologize.
Freeze for a minute. You were like, you weren't. I'm just kidding. It was a cute face. Okay. So I know that you love crystals, and this is something that I want to learn more about. So guys, we did this thing at my house this weekend. It was a silent meditation, but we weren't totally silent. But Andrea did most of the talking. Yeah. We still chatted a little bit. But she had these singing crystals that she brought over. And those happen to be very powerful for me. I loved that piece of the meditation that she did when we held those little singing crystals. I have a feeling that resonation point, it's just strong for me. I'm a music girl. It just fills my soul. So those little singing crystals, I loved. And I don't know a tremendous amount about crystals, but I have them, and I learn about them as I acquire them. So what are some of the things that you use crystals for? Because I know you've got them like all through your house and everything, right?
I do. Yes. I'm a big crystal lover, and I will just start this off before I go on forever about my love of crystals and the vibe they get off, Yeah. For me, crystals are all about, they have different vibes and they have different feelings, right? Mm-hmm. And so I love them because they're beautiful, and they each have their own little blueprint, and they each give me a different feeling. I will say no one needs crystals. They're just like a nice to have, right? It's like earrings. We don't need earrings, but I still wear them every day. So the thing about crystals is that crystals have a different vibration or a different feel. So all different crystals kind of do different things for you. What I do is I take the intention or the vibe, the feeling of a crystal, and I kind of commit that to memory. And then I use that vibe in my Reiki and my energy healing. So once I've felt it, I don't necessarily need it. So like when we have our meditations, I'm constantly running different crystal energies that have different intentions through the group, right? But crystals really just hold a vibe, or you can set your intention to them, whatever you want it to do, you're just setting an intention that it'll give out that vibration of energy. But for me, I like to get to know different crystals so that I can then use it in my energy work. And once I know that feeling, just like Nicole, the feeling of joy, right? If you ever wanted to channel the feeling of joy, you just have to come to the most joyous thought that you can think of, and then you can channel that joy anytime. For me, crystals are the same way. Citrine is a crystal of abundance, and I've felt it and I know it, and then I run that energy in my energy healing. So but they're also pretty and lovely. And there's just so many different things that you can do with them, for them. I put them in my plants. I put them in moon water. And sometimes I just have them on a shelf because they're beautiful. So
nice. So do you do, so when you have let's say you go to the store and you find yourself a new crystal, and I don't know, maybe order them offline. I don't know where you're getting them, but you get a new crystal. You got them from Andrea's. And so you get this new crystal, and do you research it, or do you just know, or go ahead.
Both. Okay. So sometimes I know, like, this is rose quartz, and it makes my heart happy, and it feels good. And it's usually just that simple, like, this makes me feel good. or, I have Sedona rocks. I love Sedona. I love the vibe of Sedona, the energy in Sedona. And so I have Sedona rocks, and it reminds me of how those canyons feel from strength. So Sedona rocks to me symbolize strength, and I just feel that intention with it. Sometimes I do. There are some pretty cool crystal stores that are kind of intense out there.
Yeah.
And there's some very, not as common crystals, and they'll tell me what it means, and I'll say, oh, okay, well, I like the intention of that, or I can use that in a meditation. And so sometimes I'll do that. I do have all the crystal books, but for me it's more intuitive and what I feel, and some of the just basic uses for them. And then I will say what I've learned as well is, if you have a rock, and you want that rock to remind you of stability. You set the intention with that rock, and every time you're around that or you want to feel it, it will remind you of stability. So I think that for me, I do a little bit of everything, whether it's setting intentions on stones, going with their traditional use, or just kind of knowing what it does for me, or even the person that I might be using it with.
Yeah, I love that because we can program our water. We definitely can program rocks and crystals to the intention that we want to carry that intention then, right?
Yeah. And the vibe, right?
Yeah, 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 yeah. Oh, that's good. Good stuff. I'd love to at some point take a crystal class and just kind of learn just a little bit more about it. But I've definitely started becoming more of a collector of them, and I have them set up on my bathtub now. So, do you charge your crystals during different times of the year?
So I actually use my Reiki symbols. So Reiki, and I was certified Reiki and took a crystal class and learned this, but you can use your Reiki symbols to clear your crystals. I do sometimes use the moon. I'm just a little mini pyro at heart, so I burn all sorts of stuff and clear them that way. But the most easy thing for me to do is just imprint my symbols and go. And so I actually do that quite often.
I like it. That's good. Yeah, yeah. Okay, so what do you have coming up? So you do Reiki sessions?
I do.
Okay.
So I've set an intention for this year that anyone who finds their way to my healing room, I feel like our energy is meant to meet, and I offer them Reiki sessions. I also sometimes have my friends come in that I think might be able to hold space for us or help, or they have other gifts. So I definitely am open to, I guess, anyone who finds their way to my healing room, being
Yeah,
able to give them the energy healing.
gotcha. So are you teaching any classes or anything like that coming up?
I'm not teaching any
Okay,
classes just yet, right?
sure.
So COVID kind of threw us all for a loop.
It did.
And I will say, for anyone that doesn't know, Reiki can actually be done at a distance.
Mm,
So the energy healing that I do in person can just as easily be done at a distance and as effectively, right?
that's so
A
cool.
lot of, yeah, but a lot of people that are drawn to me, just what they may be earlier in their journey, and they just like the ritual, Palo Santo. There's a meditative perspective where you're just um, still and calm, and you get to go inward. So most people prefer to have in-person sessions. So once we get more out there, I will be teaching classes and getting to resume where I kind of paused in March.
I like it. Yeah, yeah. I feel like I know that we've had this this time where things have kind of slowed down. But I have to be honest with you, and I've probably shared this on a Stay Wild Child conversation before. Maybe it was a live video on my group. I don't quite remember. But I remember I've had so many ahas. I feel like my intuitiveness is really spiked during this time. And I remember I was taking a bath, and all my crystals are on my bathtub. I have them all like lined up around my bathtub, and I usually make a ritual out of it. I like candles and all that. And this was maybe about a month into our shelter in place. I don't know. Time is so weird right now. But I remember getting out of the bathtub, and I sat down on my towel on the ledge of my tub, and I'm like, holy shit, a download. It's just a knowing. It's just talking.
Yeah.
And I texted Andrea immediately. I'm like, I get downloads all the time. I know what a download is. She's like, yeah. For some reason in my brain, what I thought a download was like a geometry equation or something. I thought it was like algebra.
Yes.
I'm like, oh, it's not that complicated.
I love that you're saying that, because I was the same way. I kept looking for these movie reels to play in my head. And I kept like looking for a chalkboard to be like rolled out with crystal clear words. I think the deeper I get into this, the more I look back and I can say, these downloads, this knowing, it has always been here. I know it's always been there for you. It's always been here for me. For all of the moms out there, if you know what mother's intuition is, that is all that is. It's just downloads, your sixth sense telling you, did I leave that iron on? Did someone pick up my child? Like, these are pings that we've been getting all of our lives, but we've had this barrier to them because we were taught not to listen to them. We were taught to look for the very tactile, factual things, which there's a place for that. But I want to be tapped into all of my senses. I want to really connect with what I know I've been getting all of my life. But I love that you said that, because I was the same way. I was like, holy cow, this is not coming in the way I thought it was going to. This is so much more subtle, and it's been with me since I can remember.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think for me, I put so many rules around it. And and my vision was just so distorted by what, just, so I was like, yes. So my word this year is celebrate. So I'm like, as soon as it happened, I sent Andrea a message and I'm like, yes, I know what it is. Because once you start, that awareness, and once you start accepting and letting go of and it's just, it just starts to become so freeing. And the practice, just practicing that, and just showing up for yourself, it just, there's so much expansion in literally just showing up for yourself, right?
I agree. And if I can say anything from my journey has really been more about unlearning to find myself than acquiring knowledge. It's just removing the extra that I didn't need so that I could tap into myself. So unlearning is just as important as any learning.
Agree, 100%, girl. All right, well, that is absolutely a perfect way to end this conversation with Stay Wild Child. Thank you so much for joining.
Yay.
And I know that, so I'm going to take should I take your Instagram maybe and post it?
Yeah, that's perfect.
I'll do that. I'll put your Instagram underneath the video, because I know you're anti-Facebook, which I do not blame you one bit. But you know what? Facebook has served me well. It has been a beautiful gift for me to build businesses off of. And also I like connection too. I'm a chatty girl, but I totally get your, I totally get your healthy boundary that you've created by removing yourself from Facebook. Bravo.
Thank you, Nicole.
Yeah. All right. You have a lovely day. All right. Thanks, everybody. We will be back next week with both of our friends, Vivian. All right. Talk to you later, girl.
Bye.
Bye.